Alright. So let's see, it looks like it's going to be a red list, possibly red-yellow, we'll
Wow.
see. Oh no, this is an angry red list, sorry.
Yeah.
Versus red control.
Yeah, I assume from Ground Shakers it's not a red-yellow angry deck, but it could still be red-yellow.
Okay. Yeah, the Kobold Warbeast is what kept me on towards the angry red. Now, I haven't seen too much of that today. Is this still a good deck right now, or is it fallen out of favor?
I think one of the strongest rush decks, if not the strongest, is the red-yellow aggro deck, but I don't know if he can afford to not be running yellow as one of his other alternative decks, so maybe it's just mono-red rush, and I don't know how strong that fares. I think it's stronger with yellow, but I haven't seen it too much with just mono-red.
I tried a little bit when the Shut and Pest got changed, and obviously with the hate seed and that sort of thing. I tried this a little bit, and it really relies on momentum. If you're able to get things down on the board and keep them alive to get value out of your Shut and Pest and get your hate seeds down for reduced cost, that sort of thing, then you're able to take off. But if your opponent's able to like stifle your board, then you really fall behind.
And
Yeah,
against a
exactly.
deck like Mono Red, it's probably gonna be pretty hard to really get snowballing like that because of how much removal this red deck runs. And since you have the whole goal of creatures higher than with power higher than life, it's gonna be really easy for Redburn to take those out.
Yeah,
What
we're going to see really efficient clears. The bomb slingers, fire bombs, even flame burst is going to have good targets. Unfortunately, right now he doesn't have a flame spitter or something like a ground shaker, for example, to be able to pop this protection and kill the King's Faithful. It looks
We
like he's
also have
not
a
going to be.
really non-standard start because he's not setting up to farm with the axe grinder, which is one of the ways that he builds up a lead. So I'm a bit surprised to see how he's playing it.
We did talk about like the diamond of control or whatever you want to call it, that King Dan's was using a lot, and it looks like he might kind of be setting up with that. But King Dan's usually does it with his lists like fairies that have a little bit more flying, and you don't need to branch out to actually get to the wells. Um, so it's interesting to see that sort of thing coming out from Zenosora, but that might be the sort of thing he's thinking of.
Yeah, and just seeing the prairies off the start, Zenosora wouldn't know what type of rush he was facing. He just knows that his opponent's coming at him. So he could have been, possibly that it would be yellow and he's trying to just block off one spot as quick as possible. But
I like how he plays this with setting up the Shine and Pest. It's too early for a Bomb Slinger to come out, and so as soon as you can get Shine him out, you want him out. It's
yep.
something that is just way worse later on when the opponent has multiple mountains. So getting it out early here, I really liked over the Cipher.
Now
Yeah, and he
this
does get the King's Faithful moved away so the farm boy can't just pick off the 1 point of health. Kind of unfortunate for Zenosora that he went with the double prairie last turn when he could have put a mountain down, and then he would have been able to get to the bomb slinger this turn, but he's still 1 mountain off.
Yeah, I think here you want to move up with the King's Faithful and drop a Cipher's Fodder on by creating a new mountain.
I think I completely agree with that. He's in the situation to be getting very aggressive very quickly here, so he doesn't really want to let up any pressure. So I definitely like that play moving forward with the King's Faithful. Alternatively, he can move forward with the Shed and Pest instead, and kind of drop it on the square below the Farm Boy.
Yep. I'm
Actually,
yeah, I'm kind of tempted to go with that one, get the mountain in beside the orb, just because the left side is still very open. You can get a mountain there at some point and give yourself 2 alleys of attack.
yeah, actually, he plays into Firestorm if he drops a Cypher's Fodder, so I think I actually prefer seeing the
Oh,
War
true.
Beast just so you can live from a Firestorm and then trade with the 6/4 into the 1/1.
Oh
His way
wow.
of avoiding Firestorm, it looks like, is to just do the trades, so that's one way to play around it.
Unfortunately, this plays directly into these Bomb Slingers. They're just
Yeah,
going to absolutely destroy him at this point.
yeah, he's going to be a bit sad. He tried to make the right play by playing around Firestorm, and he's getting punished by it.
Yeah, double Bomb Slinger coming down, and still the third one in hand, so 4 HP is not going to be safe for a very long time at this point. So Taleiran just once again getting his board absolutely destroyed. And this is a huge swing in the game. It looked like Zenosora was in a lot of trouble, but now he's definitely in an advantage even.
Yeah, very strong position now. Also, the way that Taleiran was set up, he had the well control on the right there, so even being aggressive, he was still able to get a bit of economy. But now Zenosaurus completely turned the game on its head.
One thing to keep in mind though is I'm assuming he's running 3 Fireburners, so the longer this game goes, eventually he will be dropping these like 9/9 or even bigger Fireburners.
Yeah, it's very true. It's kind of the same way that the yellow has the Crusaders. The more that you hit the face, the bigger they get. The red, even if you're not hitting the orb, those creatures keep growing just because of the way your creatures are.
Right. And at this point, it looks like the King's Faithful is going to be a pretty good target to come down here. Just kind of forcing Zenosora to at least push 2 resources into taking it out.
I'm not sure I like that he opted in to not collect with the Bomb Slinger. I think more often than not, it's going to get pinged off before it can get the 4 damage in for real. Either it's going to die to a King's Faithful, or it'll get Bomb Slingered itself, or it'll die to Ciphers or Flame Burst. So you may as well be collecting with it if it's going to die off anyway.
And it looks like both of these decks are kind of morphing into the more control-centered aspect of the game. Obviously, Zenosora is a little bit more geared towards that, but I think the decks are similar enough that this could still be a very long game at this point, even though Zenosora looks like he has a pretty significant advantage right now.
And there's a Bomb Slinger now for Taleiran. Yeah, both of them are kind of sitting with answers in hand more than aggressive plays. Taleiran obviously has the Fodder and the King's Faithful that he could play, and Zenosora has the Bold Bargainer, but the rest of the hand is kind of reactionary more than anything else.
I like King's Faithful and Flame Burst over the Bomb Slinger, even though Bomb Slinger looks really tempting to play.
King's Faithful just survives any event or creature that Zenosora can play, so I think it's the more consistent, have something actually stick to the board.
Right, and that's sort of the thing he really does need at this point, because otherwise Zenosora is just going to take over the Faeria farming from here, but it doesn't look like he's going to go for the King's Faithful, though. Instead, this Bomb Slayer gets set up aggressively. Now, the saving grace for Taleiran at this point is that there isn't a good way for Zenosora to get a Bomb Slayer next to this one. He will have to make another mountain, but that's really just a minor inconvenience at this point, and actually he's going to hold up on it entirely. Choose to use the Firebomb instead. Now, I know that you love drawing cards, Cappuccino, so do you agree with that line there?
Yeah, I think I would have gone with the same line with drawing a card. I'm not sure I would have set up the Brigand so aggressive, though. I think it's the only way you lose this is going aggressive.
I think he's trying to just get a mountain down aggressively. If he's able to get one in beside the well there on the left, this Firebringer is going to bring him some difficulty, but the Axe Grinder just looks very tempting in Zenosora's hand, and I think he kind of got drawn in by how good that looked.
Right.
Wow,
I'm just thinking, from red control's perspective, like, you gotta imagine whether or not you can race your opponent always, and it didn't look like he was at a state of being so far ahead that he could race, so it seems like a huge gamble, but maybe it'll pay off.
Zenosora is making a couple interesting plays here. He had the option of playing this mountain a little bit farther back and getting the Axe Grinder that buff, but instead elects not to, presumably because this way he won't have to play another land next turn in order to get into the face. What do you guys think of this play? Is he playing too aggressively, or is this what he has to do at this point to race?
I think he might have been worried about a Cypher's Fodder coming down in between the Axe Grinder if he had done that, and that Axe Grinder would just die off trading anyway, unless he had a removal spell like Firebomb. So I can understand it, but I almost always prefer to build next to the well, so I think I would have gone with that. But it's understandable that he chose not to.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's difficult now because I think that, you know, he saw the potential that he could race, but then he got caught by this Firebringer. So now he's in a position where he's already committed to it, but I think realizes that it was probably the wrong play.
Yeah, definitely getting outraced by this absolutely huge Firebringer. You know, just 4 Faeria for 6/6 is so much tempo this early on. It's kind of hard to come back from.
Yeah, the Underground Brigand, you don't really want it to be hitting the orb, obviously. Like, it's much better if you can get that combat effect and then use a spell or the bomb slinger to finish something off. Hitting the orb for 2 damage isn't as good.
I don't think there's any card he can draw to bring him back in. It looks like that's game over.
No, that looks like it's game here. Even if he's able to deal with one of these, the other will kill it.
Just getting some spite damage in here before the concession comes out by the look of it, and Taleiran will take game 1. So Taleiran, one more time, is 1 game away from qualifying for the top 8 and for that Feria Monthly Cup. Alright, so we've talked about it before, but we're going to go ahead and... well, I guess it wasn't quite the same. So this Angry Red list is a little bit different than the Red Control list. So what sort of decks does it have a bad matchup against?
Angry Red. Well, it loses quite often to Yellow Control and to Mono Blue, so those would be good options. But I think Zenosora is running the Fairies deck, so if he's running that, I'm not sure how well it's going to do. If he has Yellow Rush is probably a slightly better option. Granted, Ground Shakers coming down is really going to hinder his units, I think more so than Vampires would on the red players, so I don't know. If his 2 decks are Yellow Rush and Green Blue Fairies, I don't like either option. Maybe the Fairies is the better option.
Yeah, I could see the Fairies probably being the better out of those 2, just if you can get the effects to proc. Like the protection on the Gem Silk is going to be able to clear like the Seafor's Fodder and still survive, but Ground Shaker is going to clear those up, like you said, so it's definitely going to be difficult. I guess that one's probably better. Even like the Living Willow is going to survive through a couple things to give you more time, and then if you can get even just one Apex down aggressively, then maybe you can take over the game that way. But it would be difficult with either of those decks.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we'll have to hope that the Fairies do get their buffs on time and everything, instead of just all these misses that we've been seeing. I feel like we haven't seen a Fairies deck get good luck yet, except for possibly the one time it won. But anyway, without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump right back into game and see what the players have decided is going to be the best matchup for them to pick. Alright, so once again, Taleiran is going to be on that Angry Red list. The first time we've seen that list today. Everyone else has been running this Red Control list instead.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised that Red Control is so popular. I guess people just assumed everyone would be bringing blue, and so they opted in to bring red and not bring blue to try and counter it. And it's really interesting how it's looking on the tournament.
Pretty strong opening hand for Taleiran here if he decides to keep it. Double Steam Forge means he can get really aggressive with just prairies and doesn't even need to build mountains. And then the Hate Seed is going to receive the benefit from both of those. He's going to have a very quick start.
Yeah, on the other hand, though, this also looks really nice from Zenosora. He having Follower and Last Nightmare is very nice.
Absolutely, but this is going to be a tough start for him to deal with. Now, Last Nightmare will deal with 1 Steam Forge, but he doesn't really have a good answer to this. Well, I guess he does have a decent answer to the second one.
Yeah,
disregard
top
that.
Top decks. This is insane. This is looking fantastic for the Yellow Control player.
Yep. One of the nice things, like you mentioned, having that Follower, he's very likely going to be able to just take it off to Double Harvest, because the Angry Red's not going to have a great 1 damage pick off unless he gets a Ground Shaker.
What I've noticed actually though is it's very important to try and block the wells that are 1 tile from your face. So rather than just doing 5 deserts up one side, against Red Rush I actually try and tend to do the more typical, control start rebuild to both sides. Just because I'm in fear of Axe Grinder, sorry.
Yeah, it seems like Zenosora's got an interesting start here. I don't usually see this sort of opening, kind of starting to the side but then building up. What do you think the thought is with this land placement here?
I don't know if I like it. He's trying to negate Axe Grinders, I imagine, by trying to do like a diamond-shaped defense, or top half of a diamond, and I'm not sure if it's going to be too effective.
Any insight, Scorch?
That's probably the most likely. Like he wants to try to limit even just blocking so that he can get one side, and then you know, maybe make his lands to the other side so he limits where Taleiran's able to play.
It looks
But-
like he's not opting to collect either now.
Yeah, this is just really odd land placement, I feel. So he's not blocking off that aggressive spot that we were talking about. Playing a Kalium's Follower? Okay, I'm really not sure what's going on here, to be honest. I feel like a Wind Soldier and Soul Drain probably would have been the way to go, but at this point he's going to take 6 damage to the face instead.
The pressure! The pressure!
Well, they are playing for, you know, slot in a pretty significant tournament here, and we really can't blame him for feeling a little bit of pressure on this.
Do you guys actually want to just +1 Feria and just drop the second Steam Forge and hit face?
I do.
I'm kind of tempted.
I'm really tempted to.
I would love to. And that is what's going to come down. So Steam Forges for days.
Especially because of the hand that Taleiran has right now, like these Hate Seeds, the Firebringers, yes, he's 2 mountains away, but they're all getting buffed from the Steamforged Enforcer having more attack than life. And Zenosora, based on the way he's... Oh, wow.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
So Taleiran just going to go ahead and concede here. Or sorry, Zenosora going to go ahead and concede here. So Taleiran will take it. Congratulations to him for making it into the top 8 and qualifying for the Feria Monthly Cup next month.